I think first it's a change of personal identity. How do you see yourself? Because when you grow up, and when you're being raised by your parents and you're raised by the community, your social networks in school and all that, you create this identity about yourself. You build this identity, whether authentic or not, right? You learn that, oh, that wasn't really me. Well, that was just me in high school. So you're always evolving, and how you see yourself is very important. So change your identity. See yourself not just as an artist. See yourself as a business person. The same way you're nervous to go and talk to the record labels or the major record labels. You have a meeting with them, and you're nervous that they might not sign your deal or take your deal or sign you, what have you. Change that to, like, I could be that same person. I could be just like them. Jay-Z did that flawlessly, right? Look at his career. He changed his identity. He wasn't just an artist. He was a business. And he said that in that line when he say, I'm not a businessman. I'm a business man.
You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Sometimes as a creative or entrepreneur, you get to the point where you're pouring your heart into the work, but deep down you're asking yourself, is any of this actually mine to keep? You've done the late nights, you've built the brand, but when it comes to control, money, and ownership, it can feel like someone else is still holding the keys. And for so many Black entrepreneurs, especially those who are in the early stages, figuring out how to keep what you've created while still growing it, that's the hard part. And that's exactly why I wanted to have this conversation. In today's episode, I'm joined by Victor D. Lombard, also known as Divine. He's a former independent hip-hop artist who rebuilt his life after incarceration and went on to become a fintech founder. Now, as a co-founder of Notes, a platform designed to help independent artists and creators access capital and build financial independence, Divine is helping others take ownership without giving up control. His path is unconventional, and that's what makes it so powerful. He knows firsthand what it means to start from a place that doesn't check the traditional boxes and still carve out your own lane. We're talking about what creative control really looks like in business, how to avoid the financial traps that keep creators stuck, and how to shift your mindset from being just the talent to being the owner. Because it's not just about making something, it's about keeping it, growing it, and turning it into something that lasts. So let's get into it. Divine, welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. I am truly honored to have you on the show, so welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this opportunity.
Yeah, I am really excited to share you with my audience and also to get into the topic of really discussing creative control. You have so much industry experience from hip hop to now into the tech space. And we're going to talk about how artists and creators can build wealth on their own terms, something that you've been able to successfully do. So before we get there, can you walk us through your story? How did you get here? What some of the things you've done and what you're doing today?
Yeah, definitely. I'm Divine. I was born and raised in Newport, Rhode Island, to a middle class family. Unfortunately, during the 80s crack epidemic, my mother fell victim to drug use and drug abuse. And by 10 years old, that was like 10 years old. And by 13 years old, I found myself in the streets, struggling to survive in the projects, doing what I had to do to live. And that eventually would lead me to being incarcerated in federal prison. So, 8th grade formal education, decade of incarceration. And then I would eventually find a mentor through Twitter. Someone I read about while incarcerated, I would ask them to mentor me, and that would change the trajectory of my entire life. And it's what brought me to technology. Prior to technology, I was a hip hop rap recording artist on a professional level, independent, had done music all my life. And the transition into tech just really opened my eyes. And that mentor was none other than the famed Silicon Valley venture capitalist Ben Horowitz, co-founder of Andreessen Horowitz. And that's kind of how I got where I'm at today. Once I entered technology, now building my third financial technology startup.
What a phenomenal story, and so glad that you shared that. And there's so many things we're going to unpack here. And the thing I love, Divine, is you speaking about your journey and the fact that it hasn't been that traditional route to business. So, in all of your experience, what do you think makes your perspective so valuable, and how has, coming from your background to where you are today, you feel shaped you in the way that you have that creative control and just building wealth?
Yeah, just being someone who came from a challenging and negative background, right? Coming up
Mm-hmm.
in the projects, coming out of poverty, being poverty stricken, being introduced to the streets. In one way, the negativity was there, but when I was in the streets, I never saw it as a negative. I saw it as a positive, in the sense that it allowed me to take care of my family, which is my sole purpose. I really wanted to
Mm-hmm.
get my mother out of the projects, away from drug use, albeit through my own dealings with and hustling of drugs. So it's ironic in that sense. So it's a double-edged sword. But I learned
Mm-hmm.
so much. I learned so much from the streets and how to move and business and all these things that I didn't really at the time know were entrepreneurial, right? And my perspective is so valuable because I had that lived experience. If I didn't have
Yes.
that lived experience, if I didn't do it, then I couldn't share the ups and downs, the pitfalls, and how you avoid them and how you can overcome them if I
Mm-hmm.
if I didn't have that experience. But it shaped me. How it shaped me was like giving me that perspective of I want to be an owner. I want to be a boss. You know, I was in the streets at 13 years old, by 19 years old, incarcerated. But in that span of time, in that span of 6 years, I amassed so much money and controlled so much just from a boss perspective, if you would, but an owner perspective as well. And that just really gave me this great insight into how to approach business in a way that's advantageous.
Yeah. And for many of our listeners, they definitely and certainly can relate. Even I can relate to your story, having similar backgrounds, growing up for those humble beginnings and just wanting the better, the ownership. So I know so many of our listeners can relate. And some of them are, for the first time, they're first generation entrepreneurs who are navigating this unfamiliar territory. But Divine, with that, there are people who feel like maybe they don't have that hustle that you have or that drive, internal drive that you have, and they feel like they don't have the traditional background to succeed. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, believe in yourself. Right at the
Right.
end of the day, you have to walk your walk. You know what I mean? And the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Lao Tzu. And if you don't take that first step and have that faith, have that courage. I mean, it's multiple things that you have to dig into your soul and your spirit and draw out of it and leverage it to win, to succeed. I didn't have a traditional background. Again, eighth grade formal education, decade of incarceration, no tech background. Yet I broke into one of the highest levels of Silicon Valley venture capital, and I set my life on a trajectory for certain success because I believed in myself. And
Right.
really, my street background we talked about earlier, what really shaped that. At a young age, 10 years old, lose my mother to drugs in the sense of her motherhood. And then by 13 years old, hustling in the streets. By 19 years old, in federal prison. Like, all that prepared me for where I am today. It built me up, right? I did not have a traditional background, yet I still was determined to succeed. So believing in yourself, I think, is a foundation of that. Having courage, having ambition, having determination, being resilient, all the things that my unfortunate life on one side instilled in me or developed in me, or I developed over those experiences. Believe in yourself is the first and foremost thing I say. And when I got into Silicon Valley and venture capital, it was very, very unfamiliar territory. Most individuals in those spaces, are white males, right? That went to Yale,
Mm-hmm.
Harvard, some Ivy League school. I was far from that. But I still
Mm-hmm.
believed in myself, and I felt that if I could continue learning, I could continue navigating. And then the journey just keeps unfolding within itself.
Mm. That is so, so powerful. Such a breakthrough. I'm over here like, yes, amen. I am amped up and
Yeah.
know there was a breakthrough for someone else. And so let's talk about this conversation around creative control, and you speak about in all the things in your background, one of the things you learned in this process is like, I want to own something. So why is this conversation about creative control so important for today's Black creatives, artists, and entrepreneurs?
I mean, because ownership is equity, right? And equity equals value. And we know that what we bring to the table as human beings, as Black people, it's unmatched. We still influence the globe with our style, our culture, our thinking. I mean, if we really dug into, like, let's think about just the Black inventors, right? You know, Black History Month just passed in February, and we think about everything that they created, we created. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Things that are still used to this day. They may have been improved upon, but the foundation was Black genius, right? So ownership is very, very important. Think about all those individuals that came out of slavery, invented all these things, and couldn't own them, couldn't own the patent to them, right? They couldn't own the legacy of these things, right? We're still unpacking Black geniuses and creatives that built things and created things, and we're now still learning about them, unpacking those things and learning. Oh, a Black person did that, and they didn't own it. They couldn't monetize it. They couldn't build a legacy and build a foundation off it for themselves and their families, generational wealth. They wasn't able to do that. So now how I approach it now, I see the equity, I see the ownership as a key thing that you must have. You have to have it. It's just that it's almost like we never had the playbook, or the playbook was hidden from us, right? But we got people in our past, our ancestors, that did more with less, right? So I don't like to approach these things with excuses. I like to approach them with answers and actionable advice, practical knowledge that we can rise up no matter what. Because the day and age we're living in right now, it's so ripe for success for everyone, right? So we have to really take advantage of that, the time and day we're living in, and build upon that. And that's why ownership is so important, so that you can have wealth, and you can build a comfortable life for yourself and pass it on generation after generation after generation.
Well said, well said. And speaking of ownership, you are doing exactly what you were talking about. And I want to talk about your platform, Note, and what inspired you to co-create Note, and talk about some of the things that it does and how it just serves as a solution for creatives in general and artists to take back that financial power.
Yeah, Notes is something I'm very, very, very excited about. We founded the company in January 2025. My co-founder is hip hop legend Rakim, someone I've known for over almost 20 years now. Like I told you before, my background, I was a former professional hip hop rap recording artist myself, independent artist, but I was also an independent record label executive as well. When I came home from federal prison, I had this determined idea to build this record company, and that's exactly what I did. So coming from that background, I've always known how predatory and exploitive the music industry was, the way that system was built, and how it exploited artists. And me being an urban music artist, I've never wanted to give up that control. Like, that was my main thing. The main thing I wanted when I set out, when I was in prison, developing or ideating upon my independent record label, was, number one, I wanted to have creative control. Number two, I wanted to make the most money. I wanted to make the lion's share of the money on my creativity. That was what I was telling you before. So those are like a couple things that I really thought about, like that ownership and having that control, and really benefiting from what I created. You know what I mean? So, and now I'm building Notes. Notes is a platform that empowers independent urban music artists and creators with access to capital, financial tools, and education. And the educational component to that is financial literacy. It's entrepreneurship and music business education. So that platform connects these artists and these creators to lenders, to credit cards, gives them access to the knowledge I just spoke to, the financial literacy. We have AI component to it that really empowers these artists to understand the music business, know how to navigate it so they can build, sustainable and successful careers. So we're really, really excited about that. And actually, Notes, even though when we talk about independent urban music artists and creators, Notes
Yeah.
is a financial empowerment first platform, right?
Love
Because
that.
I believe in that so much. Trust me, this is my third startup, and I have not let go of the same space of or same theme of financial empowerment. It just has to happen.
I love that. I love that. And Divine, just speaking about your story and also what you've built, I think you're the perfect person to talk about mindset. So, what mindset shifts did you have to make to go from or evolve from that artist to the entrepreneur and to the leader?
Whew, that's a heavy question. Um,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. When I was in prison, I had a 3-year-old son I left. He was
Mm.
3 years old when I left him. I was 19 years old.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and I'm gonna tie that into what you asked about the mindset shift. So I sat in prison, and everybody that I loved and cared about, and I thought loved and cared about me, abandoned me. They left me for dead. And in that moment, I had a choice to make. I could either give up on myself, commit suicide, or I can rise and elevate and transform myself and transform my life despite being in prison. And that's what I chose. I chose the latter. You know what I mean? Because if I'm going to give up on myself in prison, I might as well kill myself. And I wasn't planning on doing that in any form or fashion. So
Right.
I focus on my personal development. I focus on self improvement, personal self development. How do I not only stay up to speed with everybody that's out in the world? Because I knew that when I came back, I had to at least be at the same level they were, if not above and beyond it. So with that being said, I turned prison into my university, right? It
Mhm.
became my personal self development lab, and that's all I did was read. Because remember, I told you I have an eighth grade formal education.
Right.
That's I didn't go in school beyond that, the eighth grade, and so I just had to learn and read. And reading was one of my superpowers in prison, and so that allowed me to broaden my horizons and open my perspectives, have an open mind, learn new things. I studied world religions. I studied geography. I studied, mathematics, science, everything that I would have learned in school, but just reading through books, mostly through books, just reading, studying. I told you I built my idea for my record label in prison, the business plan and everything before I even came home.
Yeah.
So having that type of having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset allowed me to embrace transformation and and position myself to evolve. Because I was still an artist in prison. I was writing all the time. And then when I came home, I never knew formal entrepreneurship. I knew street hustling, but I always knew I had this passion for it. I loved the process of making money. I just loved it. I just chose the wrong product and it was illegal, illicit. And then once I got formal entrepreneurship, then I could evolve then into that leader. And I believed in myself first and foremost.
So I love that you shared that. And I love also the authenticity in your story. I oftentimes feel like some people might shy away from sharing different parts of their story, but that's the thing that connects people. And I want to talk about what advice would you give someone who's trying to stay authentic and stay true to themselves while they're growing their brand and business?
Man, I mean, you're right. You're right. I mean, one thing I did, like I understood society, I understood the predicaments I put myself in through my criminal activity, through my incarceration. When I came home, I had to work at a sandwich shop. I had to deliver sandwiches to people, right? And believe it or not, most people would think that as a lowly job, and I thought it was a lowly job, especially relative to with the money I was making in the streets, right?
Mm-hmm.
I went to prison. I went to federal prison at 19 years old. So that should give you an indication of some sort of idea of the level I was at and the money I've seen. So to come home and have to work and deliver sandwiches, I felt like that was beneath me. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, I needed that
Right.
because I had to satisfy probation, right? And I needed an income. But to get back to what you were saying about me, my authenticity and how I approach life, I always felt embarrassed and ashamed when I had to fill out that application. Even for the sandwich shop now, I had to fill that out and sign the box saying I've been incarcerated. Because I always knew subconsciously that was going to be the bias. I may not achieve my objective. I may not be able to feed myself and my family, pay my bills if I can't get this job. And I knew that my incarceration may actually exclude me before it even gives me a chance to even show my efforts. So that's always haunted me. I never liked that feeling, and thinking about it now, I still don't like that feeling. So I said, you know what? I'm going to embrace everything about who I am in my journey. And I'm going to use it as a positive versus a negative. I changed my perspective about it. There's things I can teach you and show you. There's value I can add based on that experience of being formerly incarcerated, based on that experience of being socioeconomically disadvantaged. So I learned to wear it as a badge of honor, only in the sense of what that experience taught me, and what value I can bring because of those experiences. So always have to be authentic to who you are. When I was finding myself amongst Ben, I would just tell my story. I actually framed my story when I was doing press, from crack to rap to tech. You knew from the door where it was when you was getting from Divine. Right. You know what I mean? I didn't shy away, I didn't hide from it. And that has benefited me because I knew that, I knew that if I'm forthcoming, I'm transparent. I knew that if people embrace me, then I knew that it was real, right? Because they know exactly who I am. They know exactly what it is. And those that choose not to embrace me, I just understood that's what it is.
That is so, so powerful. And now let's segue into what your platform and what you do is all about, which is monetizing your creativity without giving up control. So, Divine, what are a few realistic ways that creators and entrepreneurs can start to generate those multiple streams of income? And talking about your experience.
I think there's multiple ways, right? I mean, they say that the rich have 7 streams of income. So I think for creators, without having to give up their creative control and all that, they can try affiliate marketing and brand partnerships, promote products and services that they believe in or that they even use. Digital product is another one. Of course, selling music, selling merchandise, clothing. They can sell courses, ebooks, templates online. The other one is, they can offer exclusive content. There's a lot of different platforms like Patreon and things of that nature where they can offer exclusive content and access to that. So subscription model could be another one. Go back to music, right? Licensing and sync deals. They can license their music content for use in TV. You got films, you got ads, games. In fact, a lot of artists don't really realize that there's so many different lanes for music to be used through licensing and syncing. Especially in games, they don't see it as a viable avenue. They could do live events and experiences. They could monetize like virtual or in-person performances, workshops, etc. Just really being creative and maintaining creative control and monetizing your creativity, and especially in this day and age of technology and AI.
Yeah, and speaking of, in the building of notes and what you are doing, what are some of those financial traps that you see many independent artists and creators fall into early on?
I'd say bad contracts. That'd probably be the first one, right? Being in a rush to sign a contract, right? Being in a rush for the fame and fortune. Most times you get the fame, but you don't get the fortune with bad contracts. So bad contracts, signing away their rights just to get that upfront money, without really reading the fine print or having an attorney review their contract before they do that. Lack of financial literacy, right? That's what Notes provides, financial literacy. They mismanage money. They fail to really set up the business properly, to set up the right entity. They don't have the proper banking in place. So lack of financial literacy is another huge one, right? While they're looking at, I'm going to sign a contract and get money, but you're not even ready to manage that money, right? We see this happen all the time in the music industry. TLC is a good example. Millions and millions of records, and they got on TV saying they were broke, right? Back in the day. Look at NFL and NBA. A lot of these players get large contracts and large amounts of money. They run right through it. Lack of financial literacy. Then there's the predatory lending, like, you know what I'm saying, taking funding with the hidden fees and unfavorable repayment terms that just really keep you in debt. You know, I'd say the last one would be not separating business and personal finances. You know, mixing your funds. You gotta be mindful of that.
And so what are some ways that you would advise creatives, entrepreneurs, entertainers to fund their projects without signing away that ownership or taking on that harmful debt?
I'd say first and foremost, I would say crowdfunding. Right? You find people that believe in you through social media. You find your tribe. Find those early believers. You can use platforms like Kickstarter, GoFundMe, WeFunder. There's a few of them out there, but crowdfunding would be a good way to really fund your project without losing that ownership of that debt or have debt. Revenue-based financing. You can share a percentage of your future earnings. You don't got to give up equity. You don't got to give up ownership. You just share some of the money that comes in, like rev sharing. I'd say micro loans and grants. Explore like the non-dilutive funding from those type of creator-friendly organizations that are out there. And non-dilutive means they don't take any equity, they don't take any ownership, and you can get that technically quote unquote free money. And of course, use platforms like Notes, right? We connect creators to loan providers without giving up ownership. That was one of the things we wanted to do, where they can control their career, they can fund their career, they can fund their creative projects without signing an exploitative record contract.
That's so good. And so, as you are the co-creator of Notes along with Rakim, I want to talk about what creators should look for when evaluating those partnerships. What are some of the things that you all did in terms of coming together and saying, this is what we're going to do?
Well, I'll give you two perspectives of that. First, on the Rakim one. I've known Rakim for about 20 years now. So over those years, let me give you first you gotta understand Ra. Ra just doesn't do anything, right? He doesn't just sign with anybody, connect with anybody, partner with anybody. He's very, very, very particular. So over the years, I brought Rakim different deals, like different business deals. Not one including me, but just connections I had, connecting to him. And a few of them went well, some didn't. But it was that history of knowing that I had a genuine and authentic concern to assist him and bring value to him, right? I showed that. I proved that over years. So that was the thing that he did. He trusted me. And that with that trust, I was able to then pitch Notes in this day and time and get his approval and his partnership. But the thing that I look for in them type of partnerships is the alignment of values, right? Do they respect my mission and my vision? Are they committed to it like I am? Then ownership terms. How do we co-found something together? How do we share in the value of what we're creating, right? And and just being transparent. Make sure that you're transparent with your partners. Make sure that you're forthcoming, and make sure everything is open, because there's so many people that go into business and you see so many failed relationships, whether that's in business, in music, whatever the business is, right? You see people split up and break up over these different things that could have been avoided initially from the door if they were considered. And then the second side, I would say, when I was in Silicon Valley, I had to prove myself. Over the course of the first year, I became known as a super connector and hyper networked, because I was so authentic, I was so open, and I built a network of people that trusted me because I was so real and open. And in a sense, your network are like partnerships. This is who you're going to tap into if you need something done that they do or what have you. So those are the things I like to look for: the alignment of values, how are we sharing value, and just being transparent.
Love that. And we talk about this. You share some of the common mistakes that you see artists make, And I want to talk about the shift there. How can someone shift that thinking from just being the talent to becoming that owner?
Mm. Um, I think first it's a change of personal identity. How do you see yourself, right? Because when you grow up, when you're being raised by your parents and you're raised by the community, your social networks in school and all that, you create this identity about yourself. You build this identity, whether authentic or not, right? You learn that, oh, that wasn't really me, or that was just me in high school. You know what I mean? So you're always evolving, and how you see yourself is very important. So change your identity. See yourself not just as an artist. See yourself as a business, as a business person. The same way you're nervous to go and talk to the record labels or the major record labels. You have a meeting with them, and you're nervous that they might not sign your deal or take your deal or sign you, what have you. Change that to, like, I could be that same person. I could be just like them. Jay-Z did that flawlessly, right? Look at his career. He
Mm-hmm.
changed his identity. He wasn't just an artist, he was a business. And he said that in that line when he say, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman,
Mm-hmm.
right? So change your identity, learn business basics, understand contracts, branding, marketing, and budgeting. And when you're building a startup, like how I'm building Notes and the other startup I've started, as a CEO, you have to wear many hats. So get comfortable learning. So learn business basics and everything around that, and create your own products. You know what I mean? Build assets, not just content, not just courses, IP, and tech, and all that. Just build things that have value and hold value, and actually, more importantly, bring value to other people, provide value to other people, and then build a team. Really, the team is very, very important. No one achieves anything alone, right? There's an African proverb that's used in the startup world. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's actually used in the startup world a lot, but it's never really properly attributed to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But go figure.
Yeah. And so now I want to shift the focus to the financial literacy and the tools for independent success. So, Divine, what would you say are some of those basic financial principles that every artist and creative should know from the start?
Oh, that's a good one. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself first, right? Rich dad, poor dad. Pay yourself first. Oh,
Yes.
that's that's a principle I learned early on.
Yeah.
Prioritize saving and investing in your business before spending. So pay yourself in the sense of make sure you invest in your business, but pay yourself in the sense of make sure you pay you for the one who's doing the work, right? Separate again. We talk about separating personal and business finances. You open a bank account, track your expenses and all of that, and keep that separate from your personal. Understand the financial statements. Understand cash flow, right? Know what's coming in and going out. Don't rely on like lump sum checks. Really, really budget your cash flow. Know what's going on. That's a lifeblood. That's a lifeline or the lifeblood of your business. You have to really keep an eye on that. And again, that comes back to budgeting. You know what I'm saying? Plan for taxes, plan for reinvestment in the company, prepare for the slow months when you don't have any money coming in. Like really, like if you think about it, if you really apply all these things, like success is almost certain. It's almost certain. If you will really apply all these different principles beyond what I just mentioned, just in business, and business knowledge and information is there for a reason. People have tried and true. People have tried it and it's done it. So like I always like to say, it's like the reason why you know you could do it is because it's been done before, right? So yeah.
I love that. And next, I want to talk about this idea of really understanding the credit. So, how can understanding and building credit help fund and grow the artists in their businesses?
Well, the great thing about credit is there's a term we use in business called OPM, other people's money,
Yes.
right? I'm saying you should, in this case, OPC, other people's credit. So credit is a huge, huge financial tool,
Mm-hmm.
right? To be able to fund your business and really position yourself to build wealth. But it's often misunderstood, it's often overlooked, and often not tapped into by our community, right? The way that it can be. And you see other communities and other people leveraging it in every which way, every which way they can. It could actually be a superpower in your arsenal of financial tools, right? So
Yeah.
one, personal credit. Of course, personal credit, good personal credit helps you qualify for loans, credit cards, and financing. But beyond that, it helps you get the most favorable terms, right? When you get those loans and you get those cards, you get that financing, you get better offers. And the secret to credit is it's always like they say with money, when institutions, they give you credit and they give you money when they don't think you need it, right?
Mhm.
If they think that you need it, they're not going to give it to you. They
Yeah.
don't really want to see that you need it.
Uh-huh.
So, with that being said, if you can position yourself to not need it, not need the money, and not need the credit, that's when you can get it. And then when you have that financial literacy and then you have that entrepreneurship, you know how to manage it, how to leverage it, how to use it, and the ways to use it, right? Those are the keys. Taking that and leveraging it for you.
Mhm.
That's the key to it. And then business credit, of course, same thing, right? Business credit opens doors to larger funding, right? And vendor relationships. That's another good way to really build business credit in the beginning. Getting those vendors, the 30 nets and all that. You know what I mean? The 30, 90-day nets without using your personal assets or personal guarantee. But, that takes time to build up. So credit is a process, and credit is a journey. But if you get it right, it can open up so much for you in helping you build wealth. And then of course, smart credit use is the key, right?
Yeah.
You got to use credit to invest in growth, things that are going to bring you money, not just a lifestyle. You know what I mean? Not just a lifestyle. Don't look at credit and use. Most people use credit as a lifestyle tool, not a financial tool. If you think about it, right? In our
Mhm.
community,
Mhm.
we just using credit to get that Gucci bag. You know what I'm saying? We want to get that. We want to get that car. This, that, and the third. Because we use it in the wrong way. It's like with anything. It's a double-edged sword. I was talking about earlier. Use it to benefit you, not to negatively affect you.
Yeah. And so, also, one of the things that you mentioned that Notes does is it helps with the financial aspect. And it is, of course, technology using AI. And I want to talk about this idea of tech and automation helping artists and creators better manage the business side of their work. And how can
Right.
this be done?
I think automation is huge, huge, right? We implemented that. As we build out the notes platform, we're implementing a
Yeah.
lot of automation, a lot of AI. But it can help. Like you can automate invoicing the payments. You get paid on time without having to chase clients and those that owe money. You can set up recurring transfers. You automatically save a percentage of your income, so that could really help you around financial literacy, making sure that automatically a portion of what you make goes to a certain fund or a certain account. And then, of course, AI. Like with AI, creators can schedule social content. With AI, businesses can handle customer support. You can analyze finances. It just really alleviates you from having to do all that manual work or do less manual work, right? And that's how I use AI more so as a productivity tool to really create positions using AI without having to create that, actually get the human capital to do them. You know what I mean? Saves me time, money. And then, of course, as a CEO wearing multiple hats, AI really lets me be, the chief marketing officer, lets me be the chief strategy officer, not just the chief executive officer. It allows me to play these other roles and do these other things that normally I would have to hire somebody else to do.
Yeah.
So that's the way AI can really, really, you can leverage AI to really, really benefit your goals.
I certainly agree with that. And Divine, to wrap up the financial section, I would love it if you could share one financial or business system that you think every artist and creator should set up early on.
Like a QuickBooks, like something
Mm-hmm.
that handles your financial statements. That
Mm-hmm.
that's so often overlooked, especially by entrepreneurs from our community, small business owners from our community. I cannot say that enough. You have to really set up that financial infrastructure that
Mm-hmm.
allows you to understand what's going on with your business. So that financial systems, right?
Yeah.
Um, those financial documents. knowing cash flow statements, all these things, profit loss statement, budgeting, like all these things, just understanding all that. So that has to be the first thing. Then the next thing I would say is set up a CRM or a customer relationship manager. You track all your customers. You can set up emails to retarget them once they purchase something. So that's another one I would set up quick and early on. Yeah, it would be the CRM.
That's solid. And we'll definitely put the all these resources and tools that you're mentioning in the show notes. Now I want to finally transition into the work that you are doing and some of the continued support. So we did talk about some of the things that you do at Notes and the intricacies of the platform. I would love it if you could talk about how someone can get started with Notes or learn if it's the right fit for them.
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is you would go to www.notestechnology.com. You land on a landing page. It kind of gives you some insight into what it is we do and what we offer. We have a wait list, so you can sign up for the wait list. Give you information, you get on the wait list, and we notify you once the platform is up and running. And we plan on launching in the next 30 to 60 days. So we're on track for that. I'd say also follow us on social media. We're always posting stuff. Follow Rakim at the Gar Rakim on Instagram. Follow Notes Technology at Notes Technology on Instagram. Follow me personally if you'd like to at Divine Fourth Letter, and you can really stay up to speed on what we're doing and really get a good feel if Notes is something for you. If you're an independent urban music artist and creator, I'd say it is for you, especially if you want to become empowered around having access to capital, getting financial tools to empower you financially, as well as education around entrepreneurship and music business.
Certainly, and we'll definitely put those links in the show notes as well. And what's one piece of encouragement you give to someone who wants to build wealth their way, but they're not sure where to start?
Man, I'd say like Google. I'd say Google and AI is a first place to start. If you want to really get into this, those are two resources that will give you resources. You know what I mean? And I'd say take 10 books, 10 books and read those 10 books religiously. 10 books. I could name a few, but you find those 10 books that apply to you, your passion and what you want to do. And read them religiously. I did that for years in prison. I do it in the streets. Not as much as I did in prison, right? Because there's a lot more distractions. But I'll give you some of those books. I'm gonna name some of them books.
Yeah.
The first one I would say, mandatory. Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. The Richest Man in Babylon is the second one. The third book, I'd say, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Any books by Brian Tracy. Any books by Jim Rohn. Or Ron, however you pronounce his name. Rohn. Atomic Habits would be another one I recommend. The Startup Owner's Manual by Steve Blanks. I'd say The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. Yeah, those are some of the books I'd say read. And I'd say anything by Tony Robbins as well. Just to prepare your mindset just for this journey, because entrepreneurship is not easy. It's a daunting task. You know, it's a long-term journey. So you gotta prepare for it.
Yeah. I am loving that. And I love the advice you gave about the 10 books and go all in and just like obsess over these books because
yeah, man, I'm telling you, you do that with Think and Grow Rich alone will get you started. Once you develop the habit, that's why I said Atomic Habits, because it shows you how to overcome and overcome bad habits and create new ones that empower you, right? Everything's psychology, everything's psychological, everything's mental. That's what we feel to realize. We think we're just, human beings in this physical realm, and that's all we are. Nah, majority of the essence of our power as human beings comes from the spiritual realm, the spiritual world, mental realm, the mental world. Your mind is what connects you to the spirit and the physical. You know what I'm saying? The spiritual world and the physical world. So when you think about these things that are intangible, determination, grit, grind, hustle, resourcefulness, all these things are mental, either mental functions or spiritual functions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or spiritual spiritual sources. Like, you know what I mean? When you say someone has ambition, Show me ambition physically. You know what I'm saying? You can
Yeah.
only see it when it's done. But ambition is a way of thinking. Ambition is a way of feeling. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So all these spiritual gifts that we have as human beings, you have to unlock them, understand them, tap into them, and the world is yours. Now I said it best: the world is yours. The world is yours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's it, man. Even though it sounds simple, it's complex, and I like to call it it's simplex. It's simplex.
Simplex.
It's
Yeah.
simply complex. But if you understand it and you master it, the world is yours. Again, I'll say it again: the world is yours. Like, you know what I mean? You can succeed. You can have everything that you desire, and you can do nothing better with your life. Nothing better with your life in the world than to become rich, become wealthy,
Mm-hmm.
because it gives you opportunity to not only do good for yourself, your family, your friends, your loved ones, but the world at large.
We needed to hear that. We needed to hear that. And I love that you bring up the spiritual. We just had someone on the podcast that was talking about the fact that entrepreneurship is a very spiritual journey. And even you reinforcing that is so powerful. So, yes, I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you've had an amazing, amazing journey. And in all of the things that you've done, Divine, what would you say is the best risk that you've taken?
Oh man, I got to go back to the core essence of it. And I said it earlier: believing in myself.
Yeah.
Believing in myself. It's what gave me everything. It's what allowed me to be in these rooms, be at this level, and have this experience. And I'm just having fun. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying it. Has it been easy? No, not at all. That 10 years in prison was not easy. But I still pulled the best I could out of it. So that when I was done with that experience, I could say, well, I lost this many years of being in the streets, but I gained this many years back because I leveraged my time wisely, right?
Yeah.
I managed my time wisely. I didn't just listen to TV, watch TV rather, listen to the radio. I stayed fit, I ate healthy, and I read. I fed my mind, I fed my soul, I fed my spirit. Even though I was in a broken state, even though I was going through worlds of emotions, mostly negative, I overcame it. You know what I mean? I came home. I came home intact. I came home much better. And I built upon that discipline, that determination, that ambition, all those spiritual gifts that we talked about earlier. I tapped into them all. I unpacked them all. And I used them to fuel my fire, my burning desire to keep going, to keep elevating. You know what I mean? So that's what it is.
Love that. Phenomenal. And so my final question is, what does it mean to you to be Black in business?
To be Black in business, to me, again, a double-edged sword, right? Double-edged sword here. Um, to be overlooked, to
Mhm.
be underrepresented, to be mistreated, discarded. You know what I mean? That's one side of the sword.
Mhm.
But the other side would be to be fed, to be able, to be determined, to be rich, to be undaunted, to be strong, to be resilient, to be determined, to be ambitious, to be genius, to be
Woo.
creative, to be innovative. That'd be the other side of the sword that overcomes everything on the other side.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's what it means to me to be Black in business. It means to be true to what you believe in, to be willing to take the risk for what you're passionate about and turn it into something that can serve your community, serve yourself, serve the world. You know what I mean? Like Ben Horowitz says, don't chase your passion, chase your contribution.
Ooh, that's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't chase your passion, chase your contribution. And I say on top of that, I say, what if you're passionate about contributing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What if you're passionate about contributing to the world in a way that in a way that makes it a better place? Because 1,000 years from now, if you don't do something extraordinary, quote unquote, no one will even remember you even was here.
Mhm.
So that should give you what's your contribution. Because everything someone's passionate about, they shouldn't always pursue it. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're passionate about something don't mean you should pursue it. Don't mean you should chase it. I mean, American Idol has showed us that. You know what I mean? We got to be careful. You know, just because we're passionate about something doesn't mean we should be doing it.
Yeah.
So there's a difference. But if you're chasing something or you're pursuing something that is going to contribute to the world and make it a better place, that's how you leave your mark, man. You can never go wrong with that.
That is true. That is so true. So powerful. Divine, this has been a powerful, powerful conversation, and I am so happy that we have you here with us and just the work that you are doing in making a way for artists to build wealth on their own terms. And I just appreciate you for pouring into the Black to Business audience, and thank you for being on the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to being here again in the near future.
What I hope this conversation reminded you is that your story, your vision, and your creativity are assets, but only if you keep them in your hands. What Divine shared today wasn't just about business. It was about taking back control, being intentional with what you build, and refusing to give your power away just to get into the room. For so many of us as Black entrepreneurs, especially those navigating unfamiliar spaces, this is the blueprint for long-term freedom and ownership. Here are 3 takeaways to hold on to. 1, creative control starts with knowing your value and setting your terms. 2, you don't need to wait for permission. There are smarter ways to fund your vision without losing ownership. And 3, your background isn't a barrier. It's your foundation for becoming the kind of leader only you can be. If this episode spoke to you, I encourage you to visit blacktobusiness.com/249 to get the full show notes and resources mentioned. And don't keep this to yourself. Share it with another entrepreneur who's been wondering how to protect what they're building while still growing it. Thank you so much for being here and for being a part of this community. Your dedication to building boldly, even when the path isn't easy, is exactly what we need to shift what ownership looks like for us and for the next generation. Keep building boldly and keep pushing the culture forward. I'll see you back here next week. Later.